Hey y'all, thanks for watching Gigs, Rigs, and Stuff. We appreciate it. So the first time back in 6 months, I'm going to do Gigs, Rigs, and Stuff with my band Street Machine, and the amps, guitars, pedals, and stuff like that we use live and for the album that we made and stuff. So hopefully it's going to be low tech, but hopefully informative. So my motto is low tech, but always informative. So hope you enjoy it. Check it out.
All right, this is Vince, drummer from Street Machine, and he's going to tell us about his rigs, and what he uses.
Okay. First, I'll start out with the cymbals. I use Paiste or Paste, however you want to say it. Crashes and Ride 2002s, 16, 18, 17, and 20. These are just recording hats that I've been using just to rehearse with. I have Sound Edge 2002 hats with this. This is the studio kit. It is a Tama kit, 22-inch bass drum, 13, 16 floor tom. The snare is, this is my old brass Ludwig. I've had this for about 25 years, and it just cracks your face off. It's just a great sounding snare drum. I use this, and I have a DW Collector Series kit, and I use that snare drum also for the recording. Use Vic Firth sticks. Vic Firth. This is the one we used for recording the first album, where Kevin and I are debating on whether we're going to bring the DW over or use this one. Again, it's a great sounding kit. I'm happy with everything, the way it sounded on the album. Live I use my DW Collectors. I have a 24-inch bass drum, 10-inch mount tom, 12, 14, 16 floors. That kit is just unbelievable. I love that drum kit. I'll probably be buried with it. And I don't know, what else do we need to know about? Pedals. I use DW pedals also. I have this one is a DW 9000. It's part of the studio kit. I have a DW 5000 double kick pedal that I use. That is a lot of fun to use for me. I use it mostly for fills and such like that, but it's just a good time. Just looking forward to recording this next album and getting out and seeing you all out there playing. Have a good night. God bless.
Thank you, Vince. This is Flip from Street Machine, and he's going to tell us about his rig.
Okay. I'm going to start with the bass. The main bass in the Street Machine band is this custom-made G&L ASAT bass. Has a ash body with a really slick maple neck that you can move around real nicely on. I love that. Has this nice binding we're going to mention here. Paid an little extra for that. And these the dots are mother of pearl inlays, which are really sharp. Your basic knob controls of your bass, volume, treble, and also you have a double humbucker setup, which I like to use, which is the center position here. You can go bridge pickup, or you can go neck pickup as well. And then this can also be a passive or active instrument by flipping this switch here. So really versatile bass. You get a lot of tones out of it, and we used it on the CD. Used it really much from the beginning of Street Machine, and probably will continue to do so from there. I have other G&Ls, but so far this is the one that we're sticking with. Then we plug that into the Ampeg SVT. It kind of looks like a droid from Star Wars. The way it is, it should be in the bar. But what this is you have two 10s. It's kind of basically a mini SVT from Ampeg, which, if you're familiar with SVTs, they're just the rock and roll sounds. two 10s in each cabinet, a 200-watt head, basic controls here. It's great for down here for practicing. When we go do a live show, I usually bring a bigger rig with me, which is a Gensler amp that I have, and we usually use that from there. But it's perfect for recording. We'll mic it, and comes out great. Great sound. Then, in addition to that, while recording, we use the radial tone bone, which we have here. This is really nice because this can go directly into the mixer, where when you don't need the amp gives you a separate track than this. This is just really cleans things up. It can boost things up. It equalizes your sounds. It just really is a nice recorded sound. And you can add a little dirt to it if needed. But that's the tools we're using for the recording and the practice mix down here. And that's pretty much it for now.
Cool. Thank you, Flip.
Right.
This is John from Street Machine, and he's going to tell us about his rig.
So this is the main Street Machine axe, has been from the beginning. It's a 2016 Gibson Les Paul Traditional. It's basically a Les Paul standard. They call it a traditional because it's got some features like classic 57 pickups. They happen to be my favorite pickups. They're kind of an old school PAF sounding pickup. Very low output, but they sound great, clean, and they have great harmonics when you're overdriving them. It's got a flame maple top. It's pretty sweet. I played this on all the songs. I also have a Les Paul standard. Pretty much the same guitar, except it's got the burst bucker pickups in it. They're a little brighter and edgier. These are a little warmer sounding. We really like the sound of these pickups with the Street Machine stuff. It's basically a standard Les Paul. Les Pauls, they all sound a little different. This one happens to sound really nice, so I don't drift too far from it. I play it live and in the studio.
Cool. What about your amp?
So right now I'm playing this 20-watt JCM 800. They call it the Studio Classic. They're pretty new. It's a new thing that Marshall's got going out. They got the JCM 800 and the vintage Plexi version. They call that the Studio Vintage. I actually have one of them on order too. But this is the JCM 800's got a little bit more punch. It's probably the best rock pickup out there, or amp out there. It's got a 212 cabinet, slant cabinet on there. On the album, I actually played a Marshall model on an older amp that I don't have anymore. It was a DT25 Line 6 amp. Great amp. I used the Marshall JCM model. It sounded very much like this. But that's the amp I played on the first Street Machine album. This amp will be on the second one, and that'll be my live amp moving forward. All right, so I'll tell you about the pedal board that I use both live and in the studio. So it's basically discrete pedals on a pedal train frame with a Voodoo Labs power supply. And I run a pretty basic signal chain. It goes into a Vox Wah, into a Korg tuner. Then I go into a Boss NS2 noise gate. I pretty much leave that on. I don't crank it up too much because I don't want to squash the sound, but just enough to take a lot of the noise off when I'm really pushing the overdrive. That goes into an SP compressor. I only use that on a couple songs when I want to really squash a clean tone and get a lot of sustain. I use that on Fire during the clean tones. I run that into a full tone OCD pedal. That's the overdrive pedal that I use the most. It's a little more overdriven sound than the Tube Screamer that is right after it. I rarely play both of them together. I usually just play one or the other. I play the Tube Screamer on songs that require a little bit more of a punchy sound. Then I run that into a Mort E-Lady flanger. It's a killer flanger. These Mort pedals, you get a lot of bang for your buck, but that's a really good sounding flanger. So I use that on They Shine. If you listen to the beginning guitar and They Shine and the guitar solos on that flanger, I use that in that song. From there, I go into a Small Stone Mini, the Nano phaser. It's a great basic phaser. From that, I go into a MXR analog chorus. and then into the TC Electronic Flashback by 4 delay. That delay lets me set 3 different delays. So I can have one set for a modulated delay. I use that on the guitar solos for They Shine and some of the other solos. And then I can have another switch set for an analog delay. And then if I want just like a slapback delay, I can set the third one for that. That way I can have different delays for different songs. Sometimes I'll play the delays throughout the songs, but I use them a lot on the guitar solos. And then finally, the last 2 pedals are I run the delay out into a reverb. That's the last pedal. It's an MXR reverb pedal. And then I use an MXR micro amp as my boost. So at the very end of the signal chain, it's just a clean boost, just to give me that punch, so that when I go into a guitar solo, it knocks it up a couple dB. It doesn't color it at all. It's a great boost pedal. So that's the pedal board that I used on the album. A couple of the tunes, we used some of the effects in Pro Tools to give some reverb and delay, but most all the effects that were on the album came from this pedal board.
Okay, these are some of the guitars I used. These are all the guitars I used on the Street Machine album, and what I used some of them live as well. Starting with this. This is a Stratocaster, a Fender Strat. It's an American Standard. It's a 2009. Bought it off a friend of mine many years ago. Put it in a case for a few years and didn't think much about it. Broke it out, especially after I got the DSL 40C, the Marshall, and sounds great with that. They work very well together. I use this on about 80% of the album, and I've used it for several of our live gigs, and this is 100% stock, so that's pretty cool, and it sounds great just the way it is, so I'm not messing with it. Next up is this guy. This is a kind of a custom build, sort of. There's a custom guitar, Master Luthier down in Georgia, who relics cheaper guitars, so that you don't have to spend $3,500 on a master build or custom shop jobber. And this is modded out to the max. This is a Telecaster. It started life as a Squier, I believe. I don't know what year it is. It is a top loader, like Jimmy Page's Telecaster that he used on Led Zeppelin 1 and the lead guitar solo for Stairway to Heaven. Top loader Tele. This has been modded out, all American Rewire, Spurzel locking tuners, new string tree, bone nut. The neck has been shaved, leveled, and the whole bit thing plays great. Like I said, rewired, and there's a DiMarzio Twang King in the neck pickup, and the bridge pickup is a DiMarzio Chopper T, and a 3-way toggle, tone knob, volume knob, but this tone pulls up, and when you do that, it coil taps this into a single coil pickup. So, and then the volume knob also pulls up, and it puts these 2 pickups in series, kind of more of maybe a fuller Les Paul type of sound. This is really the main axe that I use live now, just because it's a killer axe. Now, I'm a rhythm guitar player. I couldn't tell you what a lead player would want, but for what I use it for, everything I use it for, rhythms and stuff, it's fantastic. I put my own little dots on it so I can see when it's dark out, especially with the gigs and stuff. So it's a great little guitar, and I use this on some extra tracks on the Street Machine album, Fire, Social Decline, things like that needed a little bit of extra girth and stuff like that. So great little guitar. The last of the electrics is this guy. I use this on the album. This does not go out and play live anywhere. It is a Squier Classic Vibe 50s Telecaster. I bought it brand new in 2014. It's a great sounding instrument just the way it is. It's 100% stock. Go watch the reviews about the Classic Vibe 50s from back in the day, the 10-year-old videos and stuff. This thing got rave reviews, and that's why I tried one. I bought it because I was looking for a Tele, and I didn't like any of the American ones that I was trying at the time. This thing sounded great. It played great. The neck is killer. It's just a great playing instrument, and it sounds fine. And I wrote a bunch of tunes on this thing. I was so inspired, and I also, Brass Saddles, I also wrote The Wicked While, which is on the Street Machine album, and I played the Wicked While on the album with this guitar. So if you want to hear how nice this guitar sounds, just go listen to the Wicked While on the Street Machine album, and you'll hear how nice this guitar sounds. It doesn't go out. It stays here in the studio because if I took it out, it's made of cheaper parts. It probably would start to break down. So, but I just use it for if I need that sound that I like for certain things, I'll use it. And then last but not least, I used an acoustic guitar, and you'll see that right now.
And that's the acoustic guitar I've used on the Street Machine album as well as every single album I've ever recorded in the last 32 years. It's an old Yamaha. Sounds great. I've used it on every album.
Okay, so the amp that I used on the album as well as what I use live is a Marshall DSL 40C. I've had this for many years now. I originally heard it, my buddy Jimmy, I was playing in a band with him a decade ago or so, and he bought one of these for our smaller gigs, and when I first heard it I said, wow, that sounds really cool, like a JCM 800 kind of, sort of. And so I was floored by it, and it's made in Vietnam, I think, so it's, you know, a cheaper one. I think they're like $749 or something like that. Now this is the C. This is not the CR. They changed the circuitry in the CR. These, I'm convinced that these were so close to the JCM 800 and Plexi or whatever that they quit making these. And as soon as they quit making the C, not the CR, the DSL 40C, they started making the JCM 800 and the Plexi again. And this should have probably given it away, this SL here, because the original Plexi, what we call a Plexi, was the actual name of it is a super lead. And so this is just a dual super lead because it's 2-channel. And it's a great little amp. It's a great sounding amp. It has a 7080 speaker in it. Fine little amp, voiced for this type of thing. And then I have just recently added this to my arsenal, this is a closed back 112 7080. So they're two different sounds because of the closed back pushes a lot more air out the front than an open back. They both sound great, just different sounding. So Lord willing, this will be a permanent part of my arsenal live, and also miking both for the next album. But that's what I use live and in the studio. All right, and the pedals I used. These are some of the pedals I used. I'm trying to remember everything I used. I used mostly 90% of the album. I used this Soul Food, the Electro Harmonix Soul Food. Great little pedal. Sounds great. And I still use it today sometimes, but I used it for probably 90% of the album. I also used this, and live. I use this live also, probably almost every gig. Then the OCD, I use this one. This one I used as a lighter drive, less, and I used the Soul Food for the heavier type drive. And then you can combine them both, obviously stack them to get even heavier, but we're a rock band, we're not a metal band or anything. So, but no distortion pedals, just overdrives, which I love way more. And one more is the Amp 11 from Love Pedal. I think I used this on a few songs, I'm pretty sure. I've had this for many, many years. Probably one of the best sounding overdrive pedals you'll ever see or hear. Then for some color, I used an Electro Harmonix Small Stone. So great sounding pedal. This is my favorite phase shifter pedal. It's just a great sounding pedal. It's just got that classic 70s. My brother had one when we were playing in Exodus AD back in the 70s. He had one. Of course, it was twice or 4 times the size of this, but it sounded great. Still sounds great today. Same sound. Killer. And then to keep all that quiet for live especially, I used the Electro Harmonix Silencer, which is a noise gate, and it can kind of put all the pedals in a like you would put pedals into the back of the amp, you know, effects loop type of thing. And and you can silence them that way, or you can just do it at the end of the chain, whatever you want to do. I use a volume pedal now at the end of the chain just to shut everything down because it's a lot quieter now than it used to be. Okay, these are the mics I used for the album, recording the album, and also for live. Well, for live I don't have a representative. I have a representative, but not the mic that I use. It's similar to this. This is a Pyle microphone. It's a cheap mic, but it's modeled kind of after the SM58. Most places we play live gigs, the sound men have SM58s or Beta 58s for the vocalists in the band, and they look very similar to this, just a better quality mic. For practice, I use this, which is a Pyle. I heard about these online, and you know, I think they were 17 bucks or 20 bucks or something. I wanted to try them. I watched a video, which we'll get into later, about the Pyle mics for drums, the Faux 57 versions. Anyway, that's what I use for practice. It's a Pyle Faux 58. Okay, for the album, I used this, which is an AKG C1000S. Killer mic. I've had it for many years. I did all the vocals on the Third Haven album with this microphone. This one and maybe a little bit of the C3000S, but mostly this one, because this one doesn't really color anything. It is what it is. So I used this on this album as well. I also used, for select things I used it for. Also used the SM58 if I wanted to do anything special effects, maybe if I wanted to run it through some sort of digital thing and, you know, do a crazy flanger or phaser or whatever. I would most likely probably use the SM57. That's what this is, a Shure SM57. And finally, I got this on a stand, but it's a Sterling Audio ST55. Great mic. I mean, for the price, it's probably one of the best mics for the price. It's warm. I recorded probably 80% of the Street Machine album with this mic, vocals, lead vocals, backgrounds, harmonies, everything. So these were the two main mics on the album, but mostly the ST55. And that's pretty much, those are the mics I used to sing the album, and the SM58 for live.